Chad Adams.
And good day to you all. One day closer to the election. Next week, this time, we'll have a lot resolved, and we'll have many more questions yet to answer. But with us today, we're very pleased to have a very special guest, Bishop Patrick Wooden, also goes by Pastor Wooden. He is Chief Executive Officer of the Upper Room Church of God of Christ in Raleigh, North Carolina. 3,000 members strong. He is an African-American minister. I'll just throw that out there because radio doesn't pick that up, but our Facebook audience would. But here's the reason. You'll say, why are you having a minister on your political show? Well, I'm going to give you some background. And good morning and good day to you.
Good morning. I'm honored to be here.
It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I'm having you on the show because Benjamin Barber is a Democrat donor to Deborah Ross.
Right.
He was at an event in August, I think the latter part of August in New York City, where he made some scandalous comments about African Americans or blacks. He says blacks. Blacks who are helping the other side are seriously, a word I won't use on the air, messed up in the head. They're only helping the enemy who will destroy them. Maybe they think if I help them, we'll get along okay. Somehow I'll save my race by working with murderers.
Right.
He referred to blacks that are supporting Republicans as helping murderers.
Right.
Deborah Ross accepted the money. She has since given that $200 or so back and given it to Habitat for Humanity or hurricane relief, I believe. So you were shown this video. It was a secret video by the Veritas Foundation.
Yeah.
Tell me how this came about that you ended up seeing this video.
We were contacted by the Veritas Foundation, and they were quite honest. They said, we have a video, we have footage that we would like for you to see, and we will not tell you that what it's all about beforehand. And if you could assemble some people and we want their raw reaction, whatever it is, pro, con, or whatever.
Were you suspicious of this?
Well,
like, oh, what?
I'm familiar with the Veritas organization.
James O'Keefe,
yes.
who has done these videos about Planned Parenthood and other groups.
Yes. So I thought it would be a wonderful opportunity to do just that. And if it's something that would help or that would enlighten, then we wanted to be a part of it. And I called some pastors, and some of the people on the video are members of the church, and told them, now this will be recorded, this will be released, and we want your raw opinion. And each person was brought in individually. And
really?
Oh, yes.
So it wasn't a group. So there wasn't any group thing going on. It was each individual seeing this video for the first time.
Each individual seeing it for the first time, including me, for the first time. And then the rest were seated in a room at the church. The video was shown in the sanctuary. So you're in there by yourself. You give all of the responses were unedited, unscripted, raw responses, and none of us knew what the other said.
So you're seeing this Democrat fundraiser say these rather incendiary things about anybody that happens to be black and supporting Republicans and how horrible they are.
Right.
What was your reaction to this?
Well, I was appalled, and it was confirming. I know that there are people who actually believe, and this is only applied to African Americans, that if you vote for anyone other than a Democrat, your loyalty or your black card is questioned. Now, an Asian can be Republican or Democrat. The members of the Latino community can do the same. Whites do the same. Everyone does it. But when it comes to African Americans, you're somehow less African American if you don't vote Democrat. And I think that it lends to why we are politically extremely weak as a voting bloc. Anytime you vote approximately 90% one way, approximately 90 to 95% of the time, you have no political power.
See, but the community that you speak of would say just the opposite. When William Barber gets out there, he clearly has a slant. Everyone should vote their way.
Right.
And that doesn't seem to be a debate about what the issues or what the actual solutions are. It seems to be one solution, always the same, and that's to the left.
And again, that's the problem. And always to the left, but these are people, my great people, who live, for the most part, to the right. When you vote the way we've been voting, The Democrat Party takes our vote for granted.
Yes.
That's why nothing gets done. The Republican Party, at the end of the day, these are politicians who want to get elected. They know that regardless to how they reach, at least up until now, the African Americans for the last 20, 30 years or so, the last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 voting cycles have not voted in large numbers for the Republican candidate. The great loser is the African American community. I liken it quickly to a marriage metaphor. Most people who are decent people, when they see a person with a wedding band on, they know that person's married. So even if they're attracted to you, you move on. And if you're married yourself, then you're not looking for a mate. But if there's no wedding band, that says you're open, that at least there can be some conversation there. Well, I want the African American community to take the wedding band off and just throw it.
Metaphorically, the wedding band to the
Democrat Party, which would announce to both parties. What do you think would happen if 20 to 30% of African Americans defected from the Democrat Party and became either independents or Republicans? It would send a massive signal to both parties that, hey, these people are on the block. These are votes that are up for grabs. The big winner is the African American community. But as we are now, we're the losers. And when you look at every standard of measure, whether it's education, jobs, housing, whatnot, we're at the bottom.
Why do you think that is? I mean, there are a lot of historical reasons why, but when you look at it now, it looks like in this day and age, when we're after President or Obama gets elected, 2 terms of an African American president, and yet we find that it would seem that block of votes would have, I agree with you, the NAACP would have far more power if it was open to a lot of different ideas. And it looks like it's only open to one set of ideas, which tend to be more socialist.
And I owe a great deal of my life and existence and success to the NAACP. Okay? I adore the NAACP of yesteryears. But today's NAACP is an extension to the progressive policies of the left, to the Democrat Party, and it is a party it is an organization that in many ways lack relevance. The NAACP now champion the cause of the LGBTQ community. Yes. Now, what does that have to do with colored people? Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. I'm with you. I don't understand this. I've discussed this on the show.
Right.
At least we can have discussions now about this. 10 years ago, if I would have had this discussion, accusations of racism and everything else would have been thrown at me.
Right.
There's a conservative talk show. They're just a bunch of racists. And we're fighting that each and every day, too. And I think there's a lot of issues that need to be discussed. Healthcare is one of them. Jobs, as you said, economic education, even on school choice. I mean, the African-American community benefits from school choice, but the NAACP will tell them, no, we've got to stop charter schools. And it actually works against them.
It's amazing. School choice is an issue that was near and dear to my heart. As you may or may not know, we had a Christian school for 18 to 20 years here in Raleigh, the Upper Room Christian
Our
Academy.
Producer was talking about that. Yes, it's a very viable school.
Yes, very viable school. We've since sold it. It did well for 18 to 20 years, but with the cap taken off of the charter schools, it's difficult to compete with free.
Right.
But let me tell you, we saw remarkable things. And one of the strangest things is we had liberals and conservatives who would visit the school, and Tea Party people who would walk through the school and see all of those African-American students learning. And you know what? They would be moved to tears and would even write a check to help the school continue. 99% of the liberals who would walk through those same halls would look at the school, tap me on the shoulder and say, good job. But we believe in the public school system, a system that is failing African-American males. The dropout rate is somewhere around 50%? Yes. And I'm a big proponent for the money being allocated to the student and not to the district. Because when the money is allocated to the student, it gives the teacher an extra incentive to teach and to get through to the child.
We need to take a break.
All right.
We want to continue our discussion with the Reverend here. And we were talking about the Benjamin Barber stuff that was caught on tape by Veritas. We will continue with Patrick Wooden, the bishop, joining us this morning. Conservative, black minister. We're going to talk more. Lots to talk about.
Proud of it.
With us in studio, Bishop Patrick Wooden. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Upper Room Church of God of Christ in Raleigh, 3,000 members strong. A conservative black minister. Yes, they're out there. There's a lot more than the media would have you believe, but he was shown the Project Veritas video when a supporter of Deborah Ross's was saying, basically, if you are black and you support Republicans, you're the equivalent of Jews helping Nazis kill Jews.
Right.
And you saw that video. But let me ask you, you were talking about the allegiance that the black community has to a party. So the color of the skin determines the allegiance of a party. Nothing to do with issues, nothing to do with, anything. And you say the African-American community, the black community, is losing power because of this. You've taken it on the chin. Your own community, the black community, has come after you on multiple occasions. You've been a conservative for a very long time.
Yes, I was raised with conservative values, although they weren't called conservative values. I only figured it out as I got grown and began to think independently for myself, to work hard. I was raised to love this country. I wasn't raised to hate people who are not my color. I was raised to believe, because I met good people, both white and black. I've met bad people, both white and black. So if I'm going to believe that everyone whose color is not like mine is bad, then I'm going against the facts. Because how do I explain this nice white guy who stopped me and took time with me and helped me along the way? How do I explain the nice black people, my people, who have done the same, and then those who were very mean? So this is a great country. It's the finest place to live in the world. There's a reason why people cross deserts, stow away on tanker ships that do all kinds of things to get in America. Now, why is it that other groups can get here by hook or by crook and begin to prosper and move up, and yet there is this group of people who historically built this country through slave labor, who has made tremendous contributions to the country, and yet now you see our progress moving backwards. I believe...
Talking about the black community.
The black community. I believe what has happened to us is the invasion of liberalism, the move to progressivism, a over-reliance upon government, and what you witnessed on the Deborah Ross video. To me, there are no racists like racist white liberals, because they believe that blacks are stupid and that we cannot fend for ourselves and that we need them to help us. So therefore, if we vote, if we do not toe their party line, we are somehow working against ourselves and our own best interest, when I would make the argument I would make the opposite argument. Of the two major parties, there's only one party that has in its platform a full-throated support for the one organization that has been the greatest killing machine of African Americans throughout American history, and that organization is Planned Parenthood. 1,876 black babies are aborted in this country per day. From 8% of the population. 4,000 abortions per day in America overall. 8% of the population are responsible for almost half of the nation's abortions. We're, the African American community, my wonderful community, are aborting more babies than we're giving birth to. And what do we get from candidate Hillary Clinton? She's on the stump saying, if you elect me, I will get rid of the Hyde Amendment. She's basically saying to African Americans, you guys aren't killing yourselves fast enough. The Hyde Amendment says 76 have saved roughly 2.13 million lives, and she wants to get rid of that so that Medicare can pay for poor, i.e. black women, to abort their babies. And when she makes these statements, we cheer, yay, 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 I'm with her. Well, I'm not with her, because I believe we have a right to be born, whether you're poor or not. The first civil right, the original civil right, is the right to be born.
Well, she literally said rights do not begin until birth. And she literally said that if it's in the womb, it's not a citizen, it's not a person. And at any point, it's just not.
But I guarantee you this, Chelsea's babies were persons. The moment she came and told her mom and dad that she conceived, they got happy. I guarantee you they didn't see it as a Martian. They didn't think that what was in her was an animal. They didn't think that it was some strange being. It was her grandbaby. And you know what? They encourage all the prenatal care. Do everything that you're supposed to do. They began to plan for the arrival of that beautiful child, and they were excited. Well, I think that the mother on welfare, the poor sister, that her baby is just as special. You know why, Chad? That baby was me. And many people like me. And look, think of all of the potential that we're losing, that we're cutting off before the child even gets a chance to be born. Dr. King said that abortion is like slavery because someone else determines the destiny of the child. So how can we vote in tandem in huge numbers for people who without apology says, I'm going to kill you? I'm going to support, and even President Obama, I'm going to support the one organization that is slaughtering people who look like me. President Obama, throughout his 8 years, gave historic amounts of taxpayer money to Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood as an organization didn't need the money. You know, they could survive without the government infusion.
And they try to say, but they do more than just abortion.
Yeah, well, you know, rat poison is only a few percentage points poison. But according to their own accounting records, what skyrocketed from the government infusion of money have been their lucrative abortion industry. I go down to the clinics myself.
Wow.
And I see what is happening. And while down there, as I see African-American couples, ladies, and different people going in to abort their young, among the things I say to get their attention, to hope to get them to change their minds, and many do, I say to them, Black Lives Matter.
You've got, I mean, the things you're saying within your community, you've got to make you somewhat of a pariah. You've got to be. They've got to. The Alinsky side of
yes.
They've got to try to shut people like you up.
Oh,
you're a threat. You're an existential threat to the black culture of being controlled by government, being enslaved by government programs.
Yeah, well, you know, my degree is illegitimate. I'm stupid. I'm backwards. I'm a N-word who don't know his place. I mean, listen, your skin has to be thick. And one of the things that motivate me, of course, as a minister, is the gospel of Jesus Christ. But I'm a proud African American. I won life's lottery just being born here. And I want other African Americans to know this, even with the protests we see of the flag, and down to high school guys and junior high school guys saying, Coach, do we have to stand? Well, why? Why make the young African American male even angrier? So if he doesn't support the flag, everywhere he looks, if he's angry with his nation, then everywhere he looks, he's angry. If he looks to the right, what he sees angers him, to the left, so forth and so on. Well, go on and buy him an orange jumpsuit because he's on his way to jail or to prison because we're making them monsters versus showing them the august opportunities that still exist in this country.
Well, listen, Amy, can we keep the bishop for one more second? I think we're clear in the next segment. So I'd like to keep Bishop Wooden. I think his message is interesting. It's resonating, especially and for our terrestrial listeners down between Charlotte and Greensboro. We appreciate you listening as well, and I know it'll resonate with them. I want to get to this how do you break this mold? The African community, I think, has a lot of power that it's not using,
right.
And I think the more it opens up, the more power it'll have. We'll continue our discussion with Bishop Wooden after this. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Continuing, here our journey into broadcast excellence, the Chad Adams Show, chadadamshow.com, with Bishop Wooden, said that wrong. He is the CEO over at the Upper Room Church of God in Christ in Raleigh, and 3,000 members strong, someone who's taken a black minister with a conservative framework that's taken hits from blacks, from Democrats, and saw the video where basically a Democrat donor said that any blacks that support Republicans are the equivalent of Jews supporting Nazis. And you saw that video.
I saw it, and I tell you, I felt rings of fire swelling up in me But at the same time, as I said earlier, it confirmed what I believe. He's a liberal. And he actually, those were such condescending statements. He's basically calling blacks stupid.
Yes.
And the way Deborah Ross responded, and you see the fire and the fervor in her as she talked about these things. Now, she's a very different Deborah Ross when she gets back to Raleigh.
Yes.
And make her speeches.
That was in New York City.
That's in New York City where the money is.
Yeah.
So that was the real Deborah. Deborah and many like her actually believe that African Americans are silly people. I do not. I believe that we are a valuable part of this nation. I believe that we have no cognitive problems whatsoever. We are a great people. And I believe that we are worth fighting for, but we will not survive what is taking place if it continues. In 50 to 75 years, if current trends continue, someone may write a book saying, and there were black people living in America. People say to me, Bishop, that can't happen. I say, it has. Look at what has happened to the American Indian. Look at the numbers. And from a biblical standpoint, the formula that God gave Israel to survive 7 years of captivity in Babylon, one of the things he said in Jeremiah chapter 29, he says, multiply, that your numbers be not diminished. And our numbers are diminishing. And in politics, the name of the game is numbers. And when people don't think you're going to be around, when people see behavior, because Democrats and Republicans can count, why do you think they're bringing in all of the immigration? And why do you think Hillary...
They're building their base.
Oh, yeah, they're building their base. And Hillary, the WikiLeaks revealed that blacks were called by her and her camp professional never-do-wells. She said the argument for immigration is so clear that the most dim-witted can see it, that there are people who will fare well if given half a chance. She says Chinese, Asians, Sikhs, for example. And then there are others who will not do well regardless, such as Muslims and blacks. She says, so the majority of people are between the perennial achievers, overachievers, and the professional never-do-wells.
And this was the WikiLeaks exposed that the upper echelons of the Democrat Party absolutely take for granted all of these disparate, lower income, socioeconomic. They see even the needy Hispanics. And we see this kind of, the way they really, these WikiLeaks expose this champagne socialism from the elitist in the Democrat Party.
Right. And the major networks ignore it. People like me, I feel that part of my calling is to tell the truth. I've never run for office. I'm not interested in that. But I am interested in the truth getting out. And once people know the truth, then you're on your own. You vote what is in your best self-interest and according to your core of beliefs. As a Christian, I cannot, and I don't apologize for it, I cannot vote for those who are for the eradication of the innocent. I can't vote for those who disagree with the God of the Bible on issues such as marriage. I support the governor and HB2. I think it was good common sense legislation. I don't apologize for that. I'm married. I was with my 81-year-old mother yesterday. My wife, I'm married. I have a daughter. I have a granddaughter. And let me tell you, Patrick wouldn't do well with some guy who self-professed as a woman walking into the bathroom with my 81-year-old mother or my wife or my daughter or my granddaughter. It wouldn't work. And no one wants that. But
are you shocked that the black community is not with you on that? I mean, because to me, I thought that would be a natural fit.
Well, what happened
black community has conservative values in church.
Yes. Well, what happened was, the legislators, they can't resist attaching something to the bill.
I agree with you. We've said that on the show many times.
And so when they attached the discrimination deal to it, so what happened was they demagogued it, and they began to say, well, we're with the bathroom part, but this other thing, well, they dropped it. And so, but when you have powerful men like the Reverend Barber, whom I respect, I disagree with, but I respect, and when we see each other, we're quite cordial. But when you got powerful men,
even though
like
he's made fun of you and called you names.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And you know what? It's fine. It's fine.
But I haven't seen you call him
what?
names or disrespect him.
No, I'm not going to disrespect him, because when you have the truth on your side, you don't have to. Because here's what Reverend Barber and all of them know. They know I'm right. They know that you can attack me, but you can't attack my dogma. You can't show where I've been factually or scripturally incorrect. So if you want to come after me and call me a Uncle Tom, say I'm a part of a Trojan horse, say whatever you want to say that. But no one ever says he's factually incorrect or he's misinterpreting the scripture. And at the end of the day, we're going to all have to stand before the God of the Bible. Barber will have to answer for his stance. He'll have to explain to the Lord Jesus Christ why he marched in favor of abortion and marched in favor of same-sex marriage. And I'll have to explain to Jesus Christ why I agree with him on issues of abortion and same-sex marriage, and why I even agree with him on how to get out of poverty. The Bible tells us, Paul says, the key to having no lack is to work. Do your own business. He says if a man doesn't work, neither shall he eat. There are no scriptures that support ever-growing government. There's no scriptures that support the transferring of wealth, where you take money out of one person's pocket and put it in another's just because. But what the Bible supports is working. And do we have problems in this country? We do. Does racism exist? It does, but it exists on both sides. Mm-hmm. And I think that those of us who differ, I don't think that it makes me less of a black man to have a differing opinion. I tell you what, I tell people this. One of the differences between me and the president, my mom was black and my daddy was black. I'm all black. I'm all African American. I've been black all my life. All I know is black. And there hasn't been one anti-African American, one anti-black position that I've ever taken. You can't say that.
Do you see this changing? Because I agree with you that there has to be a change in the black community. Yes. The black community's being led down a path that is taking them away from power. It's taking them away from unleashing their dreams, unleashing their potential, because it's selling them on a culture of dependency. Do you think? I mean, do you see that shifting? Because the more they move away from dependency, the more they move in empowerment. The more they have empowerment, free enterprise, capitalism, growth, opportunity.
It's a whole new world when you move that way. And
do you see that happen?
Oh yeah, I do. I've had many phone calls from pastors, even some of those who have tried to destroy me, to call and apologize. I've had people to say to me, my wife and I at the grocery store, wherever we may be, Bishop, I didn't see it at first. I see it now. There is an awakening taking place because the policies aren't working. And the more we hammer that we have a right to live, we have a right to be born. Listen, when you represent a community where 70 to 73% of the babies are born to single mothers, do we need to throw in the mix same-sex marriage to further confuse the people? You know, a lesbian couple and they claim to be married, two men and they claim to be married. We need to go back to agreeing with the God of the Bible. We need to move to a common sense thinking, and it is happening because
or get government out of marriage.
Oh yeah, altogether. And if you get government out, you know what happens? We're back to where we were before. Yeah. You know, HB2 was the.
Well, let's do this. We got to take a break.
Sure.
Bishop, we're going to continue our discussion with Bishop Wooden. He's on a roll. I just enjoy listening to him, so we're going to keep him. No conflict. So. We're going to keep on. Much to discuss as the ship turns. We're going to talk about Hillary Clinton, Pat McCrory. We're going to say where this election's going, what he thinks should happen. Stay tuned.
All right.
I met you. I drink too much, and that's an issue, but I'm okay.
Continuing our discussion, we've kept him here 4 segments now. We're glad to have him. Chief Executive Officer, Pastor, Upper Room Church of God in Christ in Raleigh, 3,000 members, a proud conservative, also African-American, someone who's unabashedly so. and clarity of conviction and fighting against a tide that often has led to people attacking him in ways that most of us never experienced, mainly because of the color of your skin, which is it's kind of this racism from African American community towards you.
Yes, I had 25 African American ministers.
What?
To protest me. They did a protest in the NNO, and they called a press conference. And I didn't know about it, but Steve Noble called me and said, would you like to do a show about the press conference that was held against you? And I said, what press conference? And he told me. I contacted the journalist who showed up, and I said to her, I said, ma'am, had you told me, I probably would have showed up and protested myself and joined the others. But the interesting thing is, when they protested me, my crime was that I agreed with Jesus Christ on the definition of marriage. My crime was I never changed the set of values and the things that I believed before there was a President Obama. I just didn't change or soften that when he came to power.
Let's turn our attention to the current presidential race, the current gubernatorial race here in North Carolina. Certainly the Clinton campaign now that's been exposed for taking all these groups for granted. I noticed one of the Google searches out there, the number one search is, how do I change my vote? Especially up in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin where you can do that. What do you say to the communities that are looking at this presidential race or the gubernatorial race? You've said nice things about the governor. You said nice things. We hadn't addressed Trump or Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Trump certainly has admitted he is flawed.
Right.
He says that. I see Hillary Clinton saying mistake. I don't hear her saying apology.
Right.
There's a distinction with a difference because the way she chooses words is that way. What do you make of this presidential race?
It's an interesting race. Number one, we don't have the best two candidates, but we have who we have. At least Trump got to where he is by abiding by the rules as they were laid out. WikiLeaks shows that Clinton cheated. She probably wouldn't have beaten Bernie Sanders had she not been given the answers to questions and all of the things that she did to become the party's nominee. The attacks on Trump, the statements that he has made that you can't defend. 10 years ago on the bus, when he was a Democrat, by the way, thinking that he's having a private conversation. You can't defend that. But the policies that he sets forth, I don't know of one policy position that Trump has that I disagree with. I actually believe that we need strong borders. Yes, you can't. I agree that you can't have a country without borders. For people to say that the border argument is crazy. Well, the whole book of Nehemiah is about the wall. He built the walls, rebuilt the walls around Jerusalem.
Right.
And the Vatican, the Pope kind of criticized Trump's wall position.
They have a wall.
But they have walls, and there's nothing xenophobic about wanting to control your borders. Go to the Mexican border and the border between Mexico and El Salvador and see their border control policies, border patrol policies. And so what should we do? Just allow people to just enter into the country? Plus, there's a little, not racism, but racist, but there is a racist tone to this because as a African American, I know that open borders do not benefit black people. As you bring in these people, as you bring them in, you see jobs heretofore where you used to see African Americans on construction sites, working on roads and places like that. These are honorable jobs that pay good money. You don't see us now. And some say, well, we moved beyond that. Well, apparently not. When you look at the unemployment rolls and you look at the jobless rate, we're still disproportionately affected. So if we're being disproportionately affected by the influx of immigrants, illegal immigrants, why would we support a candidate who is for increasing illegal immigrants? And Hillary's position on the Syrian refugees, want to increase that 500 to 50%. You're going to bring them into the country.
And there's a mad rush on the border right now because they are concerned Trump might win. So there's a mad rush because I mean, that says a lot there. Now, now let's turn our attention to the state of North Carolina. You said nice things about the governor. I think there's a strong economic argument to be made. Lower taxes, more freedom, more opportunity, reg reform, things that I help. I didn't see the tax reform go on the basis of someone's skin color. I saw tax reform on the basis of incomes and what people earn and can keep and do and provide for their families. So what do you say to this? Because House Bill 2 certainly has clouded this. Roy Cooper, every other word out of his mouth seems to be HB 2. What do you make of this governor's race?
A verb,
for the African American
community. And a noun in HB 2. Huh?
Yeah, HB 2'd. So.
First of all, I have august respect for the governor for standing his ground on HB 2. When the Human Rights Commission when they go and pressure businesses to leave the state or to step out temporarily, because North Carolina remains in the top 5 places to do business. But for the ACC and others to fold, the NBA to just be cowardice, and you still have your team in Charlotte. If you really want to make a statement,
move the team.
Just leave. But to leave North Carolina, you leave North Carolina at your own peril. This is a great state. And it's a great state to do business in, and it's constantly getting better. But I appreciate the governor and the legislators standing their ground on this issue, because here's what they did. They put the safety of our women and children ahead of money. For that, he will always have
But yet
respect.
It's all about greed. I thought the liberals say it's all about greed It's greed. And yet on the same time they're saying, well, Republicans are greedy. They want to help the rich.
Right.
But then they have this bill and they say, oh, no, they're against the economy, against people. And you can't have it both ways.
Well, that's what they want to do. They want to have it both ways. And when they have a media, such as the News and Observer, who overwhelmingly supported the coverage was overwhelmingly negative about HB 2, you would think that the majority of North Carolinians oppose HB 2. You would think that the majority of Charlotteans oppose what took place back in February. Well, Don't Do It Charlotte said that 70% of Charlotteans said, we don't want this law. And they voted it in anyway. So much for politicians listening to their parishioners and the people whom they're supposed to represent. I'm grateful for the governor standing his ground on this. I hope that people turn out and support him. I see what he's doing for the victims of Matthew. I'm appreciative that the governor, it's time that he could be spending toward campaigning, raising money, and all this. The governor is looking out for those who have been disproportionately affected by this storm. Matthew, everybody thought Matthew was going to turn right. Matthew turned left, and it's been a challenge. Our church has sent thousands of dollars.
Last 30 seconds. Anything you'd like to say?
I want to say to the people, vote your convictions, and look at the politicians. And look at their policies, not who you like the most, not whose rhetoric offends you or make you feel good, but pay attention to their policies. I believe in the presidential election, in terms of policies, I think Donald Trump overwhelmingly have the greatest policies. Gubernatorial, Pat McCrory, 100%.
Reverend Wooden, thanks for being a part of the show. Pastor, Bishop.
Thanks for having me.
Much to go. Second hour getting ready to be underway. Stay tuned.